court. But it will be one hell of a fight, as XAI is countersuing her.
They want to shut her up. They want to intimidate her. What I know is that clearly the company, the lawyers, and Elon Musk himself, who I believe is directing all of this, that they have no idea who they're dealing with.
Do you feel like if you weren't Ashley St. Clair, you wouldn't have been targeted in this way?
Oh, 100%. And I definitely wouldn't have been countersued because I am the only private individual being sued by XAI, now SpaceXAI, for a terms of service violation. So it absolutely seems retaliatory and unprecedented, but that's okay.
It seems so petty.
It's further abuse. That's what this is. I'm the one who's in trouble now. Shame on them. It's further abuse, irregardless of who the owner is.
Get ready with me while I tell you why I just turned down a paid TV spokesperson position, and I'm also just going to talk shit about Fox News as well. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. Now, since coming out about some of my experiences on the right and coming out in favor of a few more progressive positions since leaving the MAGA cult, I've been offered several paid opportunities, two of which they wanted me to be a paid TV and media spokesperson for certain positions that I already hold. Nonetheless, I have declined them because I am not going to go from being a paid stooge on TV for one party and then go to being a paid stooge on TV for another one. I'm not interested in it, and there are other avenues for me and everybody else to make money, but I am drawing the line at being paid for the words coming out of my mouth. Oh, I'm almost out of this. Since I came out explaining how these MAGA influence operations work and how these MAGA influencers are paid, there has been a lot of rhetoric I've seen in my comments and amongst, the general dialogue of this situation saying that, see, Democrats need to pay their influencers. We need more of a paid apparatus. And take my opinion for, with a grain of salt, but I don't think the option is to pay Democrat influencers. You need to ban the ones that are getting paid now, because this is only allowed to fester through great loopholes within our laws and regulations regarding political messaging. And I have always had this opinion about Republican media because I have had my fair share of Fox News appearances. And what's astonishing about places like Fox News is they really just give you a boatload of topics that you have no business talking about. They will also change these topics. There was one time that I was on air, and in my ear, 30 seconds before we're supposed to go on air, they changed the subject and they're like, we're going to talk about something you have no business talking about. There was another time at a right-wing news organization that I walked out of the studio because I was there to speak on one matter, and right before I'm supposed to go on air, they tell me they want to talk about Ukraine, and at this point, I don't even know why they're fighting. I'm not a foreign affairs expert, and I walked out of the studio. Particularly with places like Fox News, so many of these people who go on air and speak so confidently about these issues should not be speaking on these issues. And I know this because I was one of the people speaking on issues that I had no business speaking on. And I know this sounds so bad. Like, I just know this is gonna sound bad. But like when I went on Gutfeld's show, you walk out to the studio and it really feels like that scene from The Joker, and everything's just fake and insane, and Greg Gutfeld's like vaping in between takes on the commercial break. These people are all ridiculous clowns. And depending on what the back end politics were going on at Fox Studios or Newsmax or what have you, there were times that I was told, hey, you know, we're not going to criticize Trump right now. We're not going to criticize this person. And they very much filter what you can and cannot say. These people who pretend to be free thinkers and the champions of free speech, they're all talking heads for propaganda. And none of these people would be doing this for free, okay? This economy that we have created in which they can get paid for their viewpoints is disastrous. And if we go back to the Tenet media scandal, for those unfamiliar, Benny Johnson and a slew of other conservative talking heads were wrapped up in a federal investigation for being paid by Russia through an organization called Tenet Media. And now when this came out, people like Benny Johnson and others said, we were victims. We had no idea that, you know, this money was coming for Russia. We thought they just wanted to pay us $400,000 a month because we're so smart and awesome. But what was fascinating about that entire scandal is that Benny Johnson and all of these right-wing creators claim that Tenet and, you know, Russia didn't want them to adjust their content at all. They never gave them talking points. And so after a situation like that, wouldn't you say, why does Russia like the shit I'm saying so much? Like, wouldn't that cause some introspection to say, I wonder why adversaries of the United States think everything I'm saying is perfect, no notes, change nothing? Because for me, you know, if Israel came to me and said, we want to give you a boatload of cash, change nothing, what you're doing is awesome, I think I would do a 180. I'd be like, what the hell have I been saying that Israel agrees with me? I'd disappear for a little bit. But these people don't have that introspection to even ask, why was a foreign nation really interested in what I was saying on my podcast? So how do we fix some of this? I'm not sure. All I do is, you know, ponder about my own experiences. But I think one way is a lot of these consulting firms that are paid by PACs and campaigns, they should not enjoy any financial privacy. Okay, if you are getting boatloads of cash from different campaigns and PACs and political orgs, we should be able to see all of your financials and who you're paying as well. These campaign finance transparency laws need to be extended to the operators, the main operators, which are these consulting firms, which pay these influencers and other people being paid to spread propaganda, because that's what this is. And I know it because I spread the propaganda, okay? And I get a lot of questions about how I changed my views, and I'm going to do a longer form video on that soon. However, what people need to understand is, again, it was a culmination over time. When I saw some of these things, they did not sit right with me right away, but what was I going to do? I was going to get out of Fox News studio at 21 years old and live stream and say it's all fake and they're all stupid. You know, it was, there was a lot of internal struggle, and then I'm being convinced out of it by other people. And that's not an excuse for my behavior or promoting this stuff. However, there was a lot of internal conflict within my own conscience about all of this and what I was witnessing as I was witnessing it. And while publicly my positions on things like, say, the trans community may have appeared one way, in private, there were witnesses to me stating this trans panic needs to stop, and me stating that I was uncomfortable with the way certain things were framed around these issues. And there are people who do know the truth about that with me. There are people who know the truth and can say that this is not something new, that I've always held these positions, and my real harm is not articulating that publicly, because I should have. The moment that I was uncomfortable with the rhetoric that was being spread and I disagreed, I should have spoke up, and I chose to have these discussions privately and try to change minds privately, which was not the right course of action. And this may be where I lose some people, but yes, we need to fight what these tech oligarchs are building. We need to fight against the technocracy. However, we also need to work on feeding the system the most honest version of humanity possible if they're going to aggregate our consciousness. What is being aggregated of what we are right now, I think is really, really dangerous. The loudest inputs right now are the dumbest, stupidest, most disconnected individuals I have ever met. Get ready with me while I tell you about how my family and I are being followed and intimidated. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. Now, I want to talk about this because it's concerning, and there are a lot of people who, wonder why I don't say certain things immediately, and it's because I am fighting incredibly powerful people who have been making my life and the lives of my children a living hell for the past year. Now, because I don't have the IQ of a biscuit, I just assumed that I was being followed for, an indefinite period of time, but this all came to a head this weekend because the private investigators assigned to me and my children and the people around my life have now begun coming up to individuals connected with my family while they are with their own families. These private investigators have gone as far as to show the individuals connected to my family photos of themselves, photos of my family, photos of me, and they are now basically intimidating. This is textbook intimidation that they are going up to multiple individuals connected with my family while they are at their jobs, while they are with their own families. One of these individuals was approached at a baseball game with his son. And there are a lot of people who ask, oh, why didn't you leave sooner? Why didn't you do this? This is scary. This is scary. My life and my children's lives are in danger ever since I decided to speak out. This is not a joke. It is not a game. And I know, I'm putting things in the context of get ready with me and tea, but they're harassing the shit out of my family. And just some food for thought. Do you think they would be doing this to someone who's just some attention-seeking grifter? Or are they doing this because I'm telling the fucking truth about them? But they're about to find out real quick that mama doesn't fuck around when it comes to her babies, because this is what this has all been about for me. I'm doing this for my kids, to show them that you should never trade being materially comfortable over having courage and doing what's right. And they fucked with the wrong girl. I think a lot of people discount how radicalizing it is to interact with power the way that I have. They say, well, how could it just be that she's become so radicalized? Frankly, you guys have no idea what I've been through the past year. But everyone's about to find out. As if I didn't have to take enough time away from my sweet angel babies to deal with bullshit. And now I have to deal with more bullshit. There was once someone who had sent me a message while he was talking about the Greeks and the Romans and warfare. And he sent me a message saying that never in human history has there been a competitive army composed of women. You're about to find out too fucking day, buddy. You can try to come for me all you want, but if you think I'm gonna be silent while you do so, whoever it is, you have another thing coming. I am first and foremost a Yenta. So, yeah, that's the update for today. I'll get back to the story times because it seems like these story times are making many people uncomfortable. I'm gonna get back to those tomorrow, and we will pick up where we left off. But I felt it was important to notify everyone of the realities of this situation, okay? Because while people are smearing me, saying I'm just doing this for attention and I'm grifting, I'm taking massive risk to speak out against these fucking demons, okay? This is not fun for me. And I do it in the context of get ready with me because, frankly, I don't really have the time to do it any other way, and I have to get ready anyways. And I like doing my makeup. This is something I really couldn't do. I couldn't do girly content while I was in MAGA. And it also keeps men from watching my page. I also find great joy in making like 8 Harvard attorneys be forced to watch me do my makeup every day. But yeah, I am trying to make amends. I am trying to take accountability for my actions and admit where I was wrong and make up for the harm that I contributed to. However, at the same time, I hope people understand the immense sacrifice and risk that I'm taking and what amends that is in itself. Yeah. So if you take anything from this, just know that whatever you try to do, I'm going to yap about it loudly. Because there's a reason so many people wanted me to shut the fuck up. One of my favorite quotes goes a little something like this. Those who escape hell, however, never talk about it, and nothing much else seems to bother them after that. My most notable detractors haven't ever stood up to power a day in their life. In fact, they did everything to get closer to it. I think when you go through things in life that are difficult, in the moment, it doesn't make sense. And we have a tendency to say, well, why me, God? Why is this happening to me? And then later in life, you realize exactly why you went through those times and those struggles and those battles that you thought you couldn't handle earlier in life. And it's so that you can fight one that's more important. And just make sure that when it is presented to you to fight those battles, that you say yes. If I have any message for people, it's don't let the suffering that God gifted you with be in vain, okay? Everything that happens, I truly believe, happens for a reason, and so that you are fortified for a stronger battle. And part of the reason I'm not scared is because I know the type of person and the type of mom I am. And I know no matter how many PIs they have on me, you're not gonna find much. Except perhaps how much I fucking hate you. And perhaps that's why MAGA's so degenerate and they get you in these situations because they always want to have something over you. But I left and you don't have shit on me. So ask yourselves why there is so much effort and resources being put into intimidating me and shutting me up, because I can assure you it's not just because I'm annoying. And for those asking, I finished my senior thesis and I get to defend it tomorrow. TTFN. get ready with me while I talk about the allegations that I baby trapped Elon Musk. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair, and I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for way too fucking long. I know. Also, I'm not original. Somebody commented that and said I should say that in the beginning. So we are going to address one of the most prolific smears against me, and that is the accusation that I somehow baby trapped a grown ass 50-something-year-old man, okay? Now, the way in which this has been put out on the internet, you would think I was poking a hole in a condom that was never used. We are going to address this because one of the reasons this became so prolific was because the woman who put this smear out with texts from me is one of the nastiest, vilest bitches I have ever had the displeasure of meeting in my life. Her name is Isabella Riley, or now Isabella Moody, after she married a child. When I met Isabella, I was working at Arsenal Media Group, the company founded by Benny Johnson and run by that sick alcoholic Jason Cole. Okay, and Isabella was just putting out tweets on social media trying to be a MAGA e-girl with every fiber of her being. I think at this point she was like a libertarian e-girl. Nonetheless, we needed more people for this company, so I recruited her to work there. I also, because she was young, she was like my age, I felt some sort of like protection over her. I was trying to, tell her to be careful in the space, whatever. But it turns out she was just a nasty, vile bitch, okay? So when she worked at this company, we also had campaigns that we fundraised for, and I had to keep her away from certain events because I have never heard a woman say the word labia so often. It was just gross. Like, she was just a classless, dirty woman and has a lot of problems, okay? Like, her parents abandoned her at one point, like she was in foster care, like I don't know, she's like a lot of unresolved issues that she should be in therapy, but instead she's on Twitter being racist. So Isabella, she makes this whole video when the news about my child with Elon breaks. She makes this entire video, she posts texts from me, she makes a video saying my ex-best friend trapped Elon. First of all, we were never best friends. Like, we would hang out because we worked together and we were in the space, but like, I never considered this girl like a close friend, okay? She just doesn't have any friends, especially girlfriends, because she's a nasty bitch. Nonetheless, once I leave this company, I leave it very explosively. I am telling all the staff, I'm like, if you guys need another job and you leave, I will help you get another job because this is a disaster. Nobody's getting paid. And at first, people are viewing me like this chaotic force, like, oh my God, I'm just blowing this company up. And then Isabella, of all people, I leave in 2022. In early 2023, Isabella, I get a text from her after not speaking to her for a while. And she apologizes. She says, you were right about Jason and this company. I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, bitch. I was right. Ostracized for being right once again. At this point, I'm still like sort of friendly with her, but I don't really want anything to do with her because she's just insane, okay? Online, she is posting the craziest, most racist shit ever, okay? At one point, according to other people familiar with the matter, she had to deactivate her Twitter account because she posted a video of her baby saying the N-word, okay? This woman is fucking batshit insane. But let me remind you, I knew this girl before she was on this trad wife path, pretending to be all good and holy. I knew her when she worked at Arsenal, and she was dating her college boyfriend named Sean. Now, Sean was working the night shift at the Amazon warehouse so that he could pay their rent in their Brooklyn apartment. Meanwhile, she was going spread eagle on the couch of members of the New York Republicans Club and being a hussy. Also in early 2023, I get a call from a mutual friend of me and Isabella. At this point, Isabella has like absconded to Texas to marry a guy who's like fucking 12. I think he's like 18, she's like 25, I don't know. And this mutual friend calls me and she's like, I know you hate Isabella, but I'm really concerned for her because I think she's in an abusive, controlling situation with Josiah, her husband. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. Like I can try to just maintain more contact with her so that she feels like she has a girlfriend. So like, I'm just sending her girlfriendy text. And around the same time, Elon follows me. And again, I don't know this man. Like everyone is just obsessed with Elon in the MAGA space and everyone's paying attention to who he follows. And when he follows me, I'm getting all these texts like, oh, you're the next baby mama. So I send Isabella a text and I'm like, oh my God, the pressure's on to be funny. Like Elon followed me. I need the rocket babies. I will seduce him, get in the rocket and like see what's up if the moon landing was fake, all this stuff. She posts these texts and says that I've been plotting to get an Elon baby once I release this. Mind you, I meet Elon in May of 2023. I'm not pregnant until January of 2024, okay? Like, it's not adding up, okay? And again, I was not concerned about this because I have all the texts. I have everything. I don't care. Nonetheless, this becomes prolific that I'm like baby trapping this man. There's also like some random tweet that I could not find anywhere saying like, oh, like let Elon know like I want a marriage proposal, like whatever. Okay, even if this was, I can't even find the tweet anywhere, but even if it was real, like what? There's like one tweet I made about this guy who's a celebrity and a public figure, like joking about the number of kids he has, like as if this is not common knowledge. Like what the fuck? So Isabella posts this and she makes an hour-long video saying that I plotted this. She has to do this now to defend Elon because he's just this honorable, moral billionaire who's now being smeared and baby trapped by me. Like, what did these people think? Like, I've just been plotting for I had nothing better to do, that I'm just like plotting to baby trap Elon Musk. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And she's like living high off of this, okay? She is getting more clicks than she's ever gotten in her life. And just so you can understand, like, the type of people who are my detractors in this situation, this woman at one point, she said that women with stage 4 cancer, no man wants them because they don't have hair to pull. She offered her daughter to a PDF file.
My husband's texting me and he said that he wanted me to tell you that we will have our daughter ready for you as a virgin.
Okay, like these are their sources, by the way. And so anyways, she posts these texts, which to me, like I can tell when something's objectively bad, but I could not wrap my head around how people were reading these and being like, oh yeah, she was baby trapping them, because it reads like just girl talk, just like, oh my God, he followed me, like we're getting the rocket babies. Like what the fuck? Mind you, at the same time, okay, it wasn't long after that I had my first encounter with Elon, in which we did engage in coitus and he told me to pick a name. I still have the text from someone who's currently at the State Department in which I talk about getting a plan B, and I did not want to have a child at this time. I am texting her like, dude, I cannot have a child right now. Like, I do not want to do this. My friend is texting me abortion options. Okay, is that the conversations of someone who is just baby trapping a billionaire? First of all, how do you do that? Second of all, it just runs counter to literally everything else that is available. And I feel it's important to address this because I don't ever want my son to grow up and read this shit and think that he was some pawn in a gold-digging baby trap scheme, because that's just not the truth. Whatever people think about my decisions, when I did get pregnant, that was a conscious, consensual choice between two adults who, we will get to that later, but had a discussion about it. This wasn't just like, again, poking a hole in a condom the first time I met him. There was a long-standing, whatever you want to call it, relationship, history of interaction, many times that we met up before I ever got pregnant, and there were many times that I could have. And then this nasty bitch also brings my older son into this, saying that, oh, I don't care about my older son. She goes and she works and she's speaking at conferences in Italy. And she says, you don't see me at conferences. Yeah, because nobody invites you because you're a racist, nasty bitch, okay? Like, it doesn't make you a bad mom to work. Anyone who knows me knows I love my kids more than anything. Like, being a mom is the most important aspect of my life. And only one of us, allegedly, has had CPS investigations over what we're posting online, okay, regarding our children. So, you know, these texts between her and I that have now become like the crux of the baby trapping proof happened in May of 2023. I don't talk to her at all after July of 2023. She tries meeting up with me at an event that I'm at in Texas in June of 23, and I just ignore her. Like, I'm not meeting up with you. I had offered to like help her and bring her gifts for her baby, whatever. Like, I was trying to be nice because someone told me that your husband's abusing you, okay? And that was the extent. I was being a girlfriend. And she's also like just nasty. Like, rereading our texts, she was just like, we were just being like mean girls, talking shit about ugh. Girls like her just have so much unresolved trauma, and I know because I was one of these people, and they just hate themselves. Like, she hates herself. She'll pretend like she doesn't, but she's saying that women shouldn't vote. Meanwhile, like, she has a podcast. Like, that's not very Christian godly woman to like be yapping all day like you're a yenta. Also, let's just clarify, because in my text to her, I'm like, oh my God, I need to post about the dangers of AI. I wasn't actually posting anything about this. As everyone else did, I started just getting more interested in AI. But I'm posting, Elon's liking my tweets saying that I've never seen a man use a coupon and talking about the moon landing. Like, I wasn't having to adjust anything for him to take a liking to me. Like, also, when we interviewed him, when this relationship started, he was very aware that I was just a 24-year-old in a managerial position at the company he was doing an interview with. Like, this, he was fully aware of who I was. Like, what do people think I did? Like, I just AI posted my way into like getting a baby? Like, honestly, what the fuck, guys? And what does that say? If we are to stipulate that this is what happened, I just made so many tweets about the dangers of AI, that this man was baby trapped, this like purported genius was baby trapped. Like, what the fuck does that say about this grown ass man who has like all these government contracts? Like, do you people even hear yourselves? Like, I'm just so smart and manipulative and like femme fatale that I did this. What the fuck? And I guess I haven't spoken about the truth because the truth is much more embarrassing. In fact, I wish that this was just a story about how someone baby trapped the richest man in the world. No, the truth is actually much more embarrassing because the truth is that I actually liked this man, okay? The truth is much more embarrassing because, like many people, I unfortunately believed in this man. The truth is much more embarrassing because I took the words out of his mouth at face value. And sure, I did start posting about rockets and AI a bit more, but that's because being in a room alone with this man, and I call it like the Elon effect because I've seen this happen, especially like with different members in our government now and officials, to hear him talk about space and this higher cause for humanity, especially as a young girl in her early 20s, it was captivating at the time. I'm like, wow, there's so much more to believe in and accomplish. And at that time, it's captivating. So no, I did not baby trap Elon Musk. And my son was not some pawn in a gold digging scheme, okay? Like many of these MAGA women, including myself when I was involved in this cult, they hate themselves, okay? Everything that they're saying is because they are so uncontrollably miserable that they have nothing to talk about except other people, and they just put evil nastiness out into the world. And I know, because I used to do that. And when I was shitting on everyone else online, that's because I hated myself. So I hope you find some self-love, though I doubt you will, because you are a very, very rotten individual. And you can keep talking about what you think of me as a mother, but I really do not concern myself with the opinions of people who teach their infant slurs, or people who offer their daughters, their infant daughters, to PDF files. Get ready with me while I talk a little bit more about things that are probably going to get me in trouble. Those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. There are a lot of people who are, saying, why didn't you say anything sooner? Okay, let's talk about the satellites again and what Elon had told me about the satellites and the election and his weird ass real-time data that I'm unsure how he had. First of all, I am unaware of any law that says thou shalt not use satellites in elections, okay? At this time, I had just had a child with this man. I did not think it was illegal. It probably isn't, to be honest. I find it strange to be like, why didn't you punch the most powerful, insane people in the face sooner when you have 2 babies to take care of? Like, this isn't just Elon, this is also Trump and the current administration and the people who run quite literally every federal agency, okay? First and foremost, I needed to make sure that I had protections in place, not for myself, but for my babies, who are my entire world, okay? And through a very long, laborious, and painful process, that has been accomplished. And again, I have my second child in September, okay? September of 2024. And while I am in the delivery room alone with my mother, I am getting messages from, if anyone knows, then everyone's gonna die. I don't know. He's like scaring the shit out of me, honestly. But this is how these people operate. They operate through fear. They want you to think that if you speak up, something catastrophic will happen. Yeah. One thing that was interesting about the data, the internal data he sent me from America Pack, one of the charts had, oh my god, had certain milestones, like comparative milestones on it. So they were tracking real-time Delta vote metrics, which, again, not sure how you do that before election day, whatever. And they're tracking this and seeing how it changes with the cash prizes Elon is offering, from the I think it was like $47, then they upped it, and then the $1 million prize. So they are tracking this. And he quite explicitly did this to like bribe men to vote, because I was having a conversation with him back in September, and I said, it's ridiculous that they shit on women so much for voting, the way they don't like, because men don't even vote. Like, they don't even vote at the same rate as men. They're just mad that we are better at voting than them. And Elon like gets all hyped up and he's like, I will make them vote. I'm the best goddamn general in the world. They just need a carrot. And then he announces this fucking $1 million prize, okay? So there's also a cohort of maggots who are saying that I'm doing this for attention. What the fuck? You think I'm risking my life for attention? I can assure you there are much better ways for me to get attention than, you know, making myself a target from literally the most powerful people in the world, from the White House to Elon Musk, okay? What the fuck is wrong with you people? There's also a cohort of people. Like I said, there is a very respectable individual who has the text and documents with the information that I disclosed yesterday. And there's a lot of people who are like, why don't you give this to a big journalist? Why don't you give this to a big outlet? Okay, if you guys don't understand how the media and like actual credentialed journalism works, they are not going to run a headline based on my text with Elon, based on like my signal messages with Elon. That's not how this works. Real reporting takes a lot of time, okay? But I will say I've had a lot of time over the last year and a half here. There's also a strange cohort who's like, well, you know, I just don't understand how you changed your views. I'm telling you, what do you mean? How are you asking me why I hate capitalism now after I'm telling you that the richest man in the world was texting me about his space lasers for the election? I also think some people just don't, they like to hyperfixate on like the very MAGA things I said, but like back in December of 2024, I was on the same side as Bernie Sanders on the H-1B visa debate and saying that these people just wanted slave labor and indentured servants, okay? I was the biggest opponent on MAGA on the H-1B visa issue, because I was like, these people, first of all, what's happening now with the H-1B visa body shops is a human civil rights violation. Like, it is disgusting what they're doing to these people. And these corporations just want like low wage slave labor because they're very upset that they're not allowed to have slaves anymore, which is why they're building all these data centers and AI, because they're like, oh, well, you know what? This fucking sucks. If we're not allowed to have slaves, we'll just build them and you all can die. And also, something that was really helpful for me was reading more Black thought leaders. So back in August of 2025, I read a lot of Du Bois and Robinson and Eric Williams, and it just first of all, it confirmed some of the things I was thinking about capitalism and about our current system, but it also just opened my eyes to systems of oppression that I had never seen before. I had never read. You know, I read my first slave narrative at 25, 26. And honestly, if I would have just read these books and listened to the people who have been screaming in the wind, they've been trying to tell us everything that I'm saying to you right now, okay? I can guarantee you there is not a singular Black American who is surprised by what I am telling you right now whatsoever. The people who are like most shocked by this are like the white liberal ladies. They're like very upset. They're like, oh my God, how could they do this? But the Black people are not amused, okay? And I don't mean that like disparagingly about the white liberal ladies, because they've been so sweet. They're like, we feel like we want to take you under our wing and be a mom to you because we're scared for you. And I really do appreciate that. However, I also want people to recognize that there are people who have been saying that these very wealthy elitists are capable of this, and they've done this before. This is most Silicon Valley and Wall Street bros would be very proficient in plantation accounting. This is kind of unrelated, but it just kind of popped into my head, so I'm gonna talk about it. Elon was very manipulative in his relationships, and I noticed this even with people who were like his friends. There's this kid, well, he's a grown-ass man, but he just like looks like a kid. This kid, Andrea Stroppa from Italy, and Andrea got in trouble in Italy for something he was doing with Starlink and Elon's companies, But so I got to know Andrea because he kind of reached out to me and became friends with me. And I was under the impression that he was like a friend of Elon's because Siobhan was inviting him. This was one of the only people invited to Elon's birthday party at their house, whatever. And then he was with Elon a lot. You know, Elon would give him money for different like initiatives in Europe or Italy, whatever. And then after the election, Andrea was like reaching out to me for like access to Mar-a-Lago or something. I forget what it was. And so I text Elon and I'm like, yo, what is the deal with Andrea? Like, why is he texting me for this? Like, I thought you guys were friends. Like, what's going on? And Elon says, he's a super fan, but I don't want to risk turning him into a super enemy. And I was like, does he know this? But then I was like, okay, like, I'll just ignore him. And Elon's like, no, like, don't ghost him. Yada, yada. What the fuck? So this guy's, like, keeping this individual around. And to my knowledge, from my many conversations with Andrea, like, he genuinely thinks him and Elon are friends, like genuine friends. Again, he's one of the only people that Siobhan is inviting to Elon's birthday party. That sounds like a friend to me, but then Elon's like, no, he's just a super fan that I don't want to turn into a super enemy. What? I don't have anybody in my life who I hang out with often, all the time. I don't have anybody who's coming to my birthday party at my house with my children that I think is just a super fan that I'm trying to placate and not make into a super enemy. What? There was also a really dumb comment. Someone was like, well, why didn't you call his exes? Why didn't you talk to his exes before? Excuse me, are you like genuinely with a straight face suggesting that I call the exes like of Elon Musk as if they're like fucking job references before I got involved with him? Like, it's giving, what would happen if you just called Taylor up? Now, I should have done more research about their experiences that they talked about here and there, but like, what the fuck? No, I can't just call his exes. Like, this is a job interview, okay? Though I think we should. I really think a lot in society would be much better if it was socially acceptable to call people's exes as if they were job references, okay? It would heal a lot. It would promote better home management because then people are less inclined to have messy breakups with their exes or be insane, you know, whatever. And choose better. There's also a weird cohort of people who are like, oh, she's making this up. Okay, I get it. I'm a little crazy. I'm a little distasteful. But do you really think I'm just making up the things that I'm saying right now? What? No, I have text. He did this over iMessage, okay? This wasn't even Signal. I was like, dude, like, you wanna move apps here? What the fuck are you telling me? There's also, wait 1 second, I can't talk and do this. There's also a lot of people who are like, you need to tell everyone that you'd never harm yourself, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't, okay? But I feel like starting every video out that way just feels like very, conspiratorial. I don't know, it just feels weird. But yeah, I would never do that. I am of sound mind, I think, at least according to my psychiatrist. The Lexapro helps. And my family knows. My family, my friends, like, they know I would never do that. They know how much I love my kids. Like, I would never do that to them. I just wouldn't. So. Now, the Founding Fathers did not have me yapping about my ex-boyfriends in mind when we decided to create the First Amendment. However, what they did have in mind was standing up against systems of power, against corruption, against the government. of which I do think you qualify. Get ready with me while I talk about the 2024 election and the satellites. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. Also, a quick aside, everyone was telling me that my vitamin C oil serum is also oxidizing because I was just putting the dropper on my skin, so we're going to put it on my hands today because I am working on taking feedback and adjusting my behavior. There is, again, a lot of discourse around, we shouldn't rebrand Ashley, she was involved in all this harm, and I was. And something that's very important for me to address is that these things happen to me, and I've said this many times before. The cruelty is happening to me because I ignored the cruelty and the pleas of others. There were many people, especially women, who spoke about the issues of single motherhood, of being involved in the court system, of being involved with powerful men, of being involved with men who have outsized influence and power, that I ignored. I ignored these people. Not only did I ignore them, but I talked shit about them. I used their experiences as a political talking point, as a political counter, and to my own detriment, okay? Great book I recommend is Hood Feminism, which I will get to that and some of my other deconstruction and what led up to that later, but this is all tangentially related. So I know I'm going to be jumping around in the timeline a little bit, but I'm processing everything and talking about it in chunks. That's just easier for me. So the year is 2024. I'm pregnant. I get pregnant in January of 2024. And I start gaining weight because that's what happens. And so immediately there are a lot of people speculating that I have a child with Elon because he is the most prominent person publicly associated with me at this point, and he has a harem. So Elon has never explicitly said or even really implied that this needs to be a secret, but I just am because I don't want to deal with it. That's a lot. But there are a lot of people speculating. There are a few people in my life who are aware. However, I made a very big mistake in telling one woman, who is referred to in other videos, especially my Real Housewives of Mar-a-Lago series, as Ozempic, because Ozempic uses this thing that is private and I want to keep under wraps as a means to social climb and for her to be like, oh, I know one of Elon Musk's baby mamas. And suddenly there's just many people who the only common denominator is this girl who know. We will get to that more in depth when we talk about how this all came out in the public sphere. But what I want to focus on is the election, okay? Because this was the first time in my life, and I know I was publicly tweeting about MAGA and elections and Trump, but this was the first time that I felt like my actions had consequences. And I know that sounds insane, but I was very divorced from the reality and the consequences or the fallout of any of my rhetoric or MAGA influencing until we started getting closer to the election. I just didn't think my words and my involvement or any of my actions had any sort of real influence outside of mean tweets. So Elon uses Trump's assassination attempt in Butler to say that this is the catalyst for him supporting Trump, even though he was already supporting Trump and working on his America PAC, yada yada. Now, in September, I put a dark black MAGA hat on Elon's head while he was at my house. This MAGA hat would become very well known and known as Dark MAGA, okay? I regret to inform everyone that I am responsible for Dark MAGA and the cringe that ensued thereafter. Elon is meeting up with like friends, mutual friends we have, and he's like, oh yeah, Ashley gave me this out, whatever. And then he does this whole Dark MAGA thing on stage with Trump very publicly. And so simultaneously, there are a few things going on. I have this big, gigantic secret that I am having a child with the richest man in the world, and he is all over the news. And there is something just inherently dirty about keeping a secret, even if it's not anything wrong, and I'm not... there's just something that is psychologically fracturing about keeping a secret. Okay, and so now I am being reminded of this secret every time I open my phone or I turn on the TV. And not only that, but now he's jumping around on stage with this gift I gave him, and I like genuinely do not even know how to explain like psychologically what this felt like. And he wanted me to see this because then he is sending me the tweets that are like, Elon wears a Dark MAGA hat. Like he's sending me these posts to show me like, look, I'm wearing the thing you gave me. So at this point, I'm like, I'm starting to realize that my actions now have like national and global impact, because it wasn't just this Dark MAGA hat. This Dark MAGA hat was an item that was for sale through the Trump campaign. And so these sales rose astronomically. And so at this point, I'm like, oh my God, I am responsible for raising a whole lot of money for the Trump campaign. And prior to this, like the only thing I'm doing is like tweeting. So I didn't have any large impact. And so this started to, like, I'm publicly supporting Trump, but then I'm like privately grappling with this situation, and I'm just really, really uncomfortable. And then October rolls around. And in October, Elon tells me that he is ready to release his, in his words, anomaly in the Matrix. And I am like, oh, like, who's that? And he says that he has 10,000 lasers in space, referring to his satellites. I say, because I am like rather uncomfortable and I know the gravity of what he's trying to tell me right now, I say, wow, finally a focus on the Jewish vote. He keeps going and he says, you know, this is not a piece that they'll see on the chessboard. And I straight up tell him, I say, I would ask more, but I really don't want to be deposed. To which he says, very wise. Shortly after that, you know, he's involved with America PAC and all of this other stuff, and he's sending me some internal data from America PAC, real-time Delta vote metrics. And I am just like, how the fuck do you have this sort of data? You don't get this from door knocking, because that was one of my first jobs in politics was in campaigns and cleaning up this bad data from door knocking, because the vendors that America PAC is using at this point is a vendor that hires Craigslist crackheads for door knocking, and I wish I was exaggerating there, but I'm not. I know, like, I have caused harm with my rhetoric. However, I never like sought out to cause harm. Like, there were parts of me that really wanted like the best for the country, for America, for democracy. And one thing is, I have always hated big tech. So then to have arguably the most powerful man in the world who is sending me things about, you know, using his space technology in the election. I should also say that I have all of this backed up with many people with explicit instructions should anything happen to me, okay? But this was something that I was internally wrestling with while publicly not really showing that I was having any of these internal ethical conflicts with myself regarding this information. And then on election night itself, Elon, left Mar-a-Lago early. I was at Mar-a-Lago, and he told me over text, he's like, yeah, I knew hours ago that Trump won. My team has the best real-time data anywhere. First of all, how the fuck do you have real-time data on elections? How do you have real-time data? I could not understand that. I don't know that I ever will. I saw some shit, guys. Like, I saw some shit, and I'm fighting really hard to keep my voice because I saw shit that impacts everyone. And if I was self-interested, I have been offered the self-interested deal to shut up and not talk about anything. But what I can tell you is I've not been offered certain deals just because I know that he's weird, okay? I saw some shit. And, like, talking about this just sounds crazy. Like, I feel like I sound like a crazy person when I'm like, yeah, he told me about his space lasers and the election. Like, this is... what the fuck? The best I can do is talk about it now. Despite the immense harassment and intimidation of my family that has been going on. Yeah. Anywho, there's a lot of questions about my eyeshadow, and I never mentioned it because it was a James Charles palette, and I hate him and don't want to give him any money. So today we're going to be using the Patrick Ta palette. Tried and true, okay? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen to me. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna they're gonna pull an Amber Heard, sue me for defamation. I don't know. All I know is I don't want this only in my head anymore. I don't want that burden anymore. And I need it off of my head. I need other people who know about this because, in my opinion, it's no good, very bad bears, okay? I don't even know if these videos will be allowed to stay up. I could get a court order tomorrow saying that I need to take them down. I have no idea, but what I'm gonna do is get everything out there while I still retain the ability to do so. I care about my children more than anything in this world. I feel immense guilt for just putting them in this situation to begin with. But I want them to have a country. I want them to have access to democracy. I want everyone to have access to the democracy that we're supposed to. And I am increasingly concerned about our lack of regulations and investigations into how technology is being used to thwart democracy. If you guys thought Cambridge Analytica was bad, okay, it is my opinion that what is happening, especially combined with the behavioral inference model of X and XAI, Twitter, that this is a million times worse than anything we saw with Cambridge Analytica. And that's my opinion. And I have these messages. I have the documents, and I've already provided them to someone who's working on a much larger project than just my testimony that hopefully will do some good with it in the coming months. Yeah. And there's been people saying like, oh well, she's he's not suing for defamation, so she must be telling the truth. Anyone can sue you for defamation. Just because someone sues you for defamation, like that should not, the lawsuit itself, and rich people do this all the time, like the lawsuit itself they will use to say like, oh, see, like I have grounds, but that doesn't mean that I've said anything defamatory, even if they do sue me for defamation, which is a possibility. Like, they could still do this just because they can. They have infinite resources. The bar of evidence is not just like a claim. You then have to prove the claim, which that would not go anywhere. I would never be found liable of defamation, but it is a possibility. It's a possibility that government agencies could be weaponized because of the connections in there. I have no idea. I don't know. It is scary, and again, the best thing I can do is talk about what I know now, because I feel immense guilt for even sitting on all of this as long as I have, but I've been, and I've tried to articulate, I've been a very scared and broken individual for basically my entire adult life. And having kids makes you ask the question, like, am I gonna fight for something bigger? Like, what example am I gonna be to my kids? And the other aspect is like, do I talk about this publicly? Because, any individuals involved could then clean up the mess if they know that I'm talking about it, but I don't know. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I don't know what the right thing to do is, so I'm just going to talk to the internet about it. And if very resourceful people who have immense resources are going to have my family physically followed, physically harassed, and confronted, people associated with my family, then I'm gonna make sure your skin is under my fingernails. Get ready with me while I talk about when things started going south with Elon. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. Now, before we get into the story time, I want to show you guys something because someone pointed this out in my comments. This is the C12 serum I usually use, and when I put it on, someone in the comments said, that is really dark. It's not supposed to be that dark. It means that your serum has oxidized. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just get another one to see if this bitch is crazy. She's not. Like, how did I not notice this? Oh my God. Anyways, PSA, make sure your vitamin C serum does not oxidize, because what have I been putting on my skin? So at this point, it's like late 2023, and my relationship with Elon feels emotionally intimate, okay? I don't really care how he would characterize it, but I'm just gonna tell you guys my experience. And by late 2023, it's, we're speaking often. He's calling me, he's texting me, he's sending me, I was just thinking about you text. He's sending me his favorite songs. He's talking to me about the things going on in his life and with the companies, whatever. He's telling me he doesn't really want to work at Tesla anymore, but he has no one who can take it over for him. Like, he's, at least to me, this feels like intimate. So by January 2024, this is New Year's of 2024, he sends me a text and he's like, I'm going to St. Bart's for a few days. Like, do you want to join me? And I am like, right away, I'm on the plane. Let's go. Also, at this time, because he's interacting with me publicly so often, there are a lot of people speculating that we are seeing each other, that I'm the next baby mama. Like, it's becoming overwhelming at this point, to the point that, like, everyone asked me about it. My doorman, my family, my friends, random people on the internet. And I remember one instance in particular. We were on
his jet, and I was like, hey, by the way, like, there's a lot of people speculating, and if you don't want people to know about this, maybe cool it on the replies to me. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. And then he starts laughing hysterically a few minutes later. And I'm like, what the fuck are you laughing at? And I look down at my phone and he's responding to more of my tweets. Like, he thinks this is funny. So in my head, I'm like, well, guess he doesn't care. So I meet up with him in St. Bart's we're staying with Joe Gebbia and his wife, the founder of Airbnb. And at this point in my life, because I'm involved in MAGA and the right wing, like, and I'm already a single mom, I'm gonna do this first. I believe, like, the chances of me getting married and my, the white picket fence and the white dress, I believe that's out the window for me because I'm already, like, stained as a single mom. But I wanted nothing more than to just be a mom. Like, I wanted more kids. Like, I would love to have a daughter one day. Love my sons. I also want a daughter. I need someone besides TikTok to share my makeup tips with. And so the prospect of being with someone who wanted me to have more kids and I wouldn't have to worry about anything, especially, like, since it's difficult being a single mom. It's difficult working and having to, wonder if you're going to be able to pay the bills for your kids the next month. And I think an economic factor is a decision when anybody has kids with anybody. Like, there's this notion that, like, oh, everybody who has kids with each other, it's just, like, because they're just so passionate and in the moment. Like, no, most people who are, like, have more than 2 brain cells when they talk about family planning and having kids. Like, the economics of it is a big factor. That's why so many people don't have kids. That is the top reason given for abortions in this country, or, choosing not to have children, is the economic factors. And so when Elon is like, you should have more kids, my only limited resource is time, like, of course it is appealing to do what I've always wanted to do, be a mom, and not have to worry about this shit going on in this economy. Like, that is just, and I don't think that's a crazy position to take. I don't think that's crazy reasoning. Like, never was I like, oh, I'm gonna make it big, this is my ticket to a Birkin. No, it's more like, my kids are always going to be taken care of. And also, like, let's be honest, I'm a young hoe at Mar-a-Lago. Like, if I wanted to marry for money, I could have done that a long time ago. Because at this point, when I'm in St. Bart's, I'm ovulating. So this is, like, a serious discussion for me. And we have this conversation. And my child ends up being a consensual choice between 2 adults. But as soon as I'm pregnant, this is when things start getting weird, okay? There's just things that are not adding up or that are different than what he had previously said to me. For example, like, when I first got involved with him, I asked him, because I can read, okay? So I asked him about Clair, Grimes, Siobhan, not because I wanted to be exclusive with this man, but because I'm a girl's girl and I never wanted to, like, put another woman in a situation where they thought they were monogamous with someone and, they're going around with a side hoe. He basically tells me, he's like, no, Claire and I are good. We just co-parent. Everything's hunky-dory. And me and Siobhan are just platonic. It's basically a financial agreement is what he tells me. I also outright ask him, I am like, because again, I can read, like, everyone for the last, umpteen years has talked about him having a harem and, being in competition with Nick Cannon here. So I'm like, how many, like, kids are there? And he's like, it's actually not as many as people think. And I'm like, okay, well, like, how many? And he tells me about the kids with Justine, with Claire, with Siobhan. And then he also, I asked straight up about Amber Heard because this is what I had heard. And he's like, no, I actually asked her because I thought they were mine, but she says that they're not, yada, yada, who. So at least that's what he told me. But he also has a complicated relationship with the truth. So who knows? However, he also tells me that there is one more with a Japanese woman, and he says that this came to fruition when these Japanese people, officials, came to speak to him. And I actually remember when this happened because he was with me right before he met with them, like early 2023. And he even texted me afterwards. I was like, how'd the Japan meeting go? Because mind you, he was pretty under the influence when he met with these people. And he texted me and was like, you know, it was interesting. They just want my sperm, no romance, just my sperm. And then we didn't talk about it again until like the next year. And he tells me that he did in fact do this. So hearing this, I'm just like, what? Okay, like whatever. This is just like, I'm not even gonna ask any more questions. Okay, whatever. And then when I'm like, I'm also starting to see things like I'm starting to see that there were misrepresentations, at least regarding his situation with Claire Grimes. That just made me uncomfortable because, mind you, I'm already a mother by the time I'm with Elon. So I am viewing their interactions through the lens of a mother who does co-parent. And like there was one time where Claire was texting him, pleading for something like with the kids, and then he just texts back and he's like, I'm blocking you. And he blocked her. And like in that moment, mind you, I'm already pregnant. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I can feel her despair as a mother. Because he has your kids and now you're blocked. Like, this is crazy. So I'm just seeing things that I'm like, that's a data point. Like, I start realizing that I'm gonna have to keep my head on a swivel and protect myself, because anything that is too good to be true probably is. So I'm just collecting these data points in my head, like, that was not great of him. Also, maybe I think I'm like 6 months pregnant, and he tells me, oh, by the way, I should tell you, I'm technically living with Siobhan half of the time. And I'm like, oh, well, that's certainly a development from we're just platonic and this is a financial arrangement, but okay. And I'm like, does she know? And he's like, no. And he's like, but I haven't made any commitments to her. I'm like, okay, man, this is just like weird. Like, everyone in the world thinks you have a harem. Like, why don't you just like own this shit? Like, now why am I in this weird position? Like, it's not even like I want some exclusivity with him. I just don't want to be in this weird ass position. Mind you, I am also, while I'm pregnant, or I'm getting like calls and texts about other people that he's reaching out to, like maybe 2 months after I had our son together, or a month. I'm like literally holding our like infant baby, and I'm getting a call from Tiffany Fong, this influencer on Twitter. And mind you, she has no idea that like I have a child with Elon at this point. She has no idea like our relationship, none of this. And she calls me and she's like, dude, Elon just offered to have kids with me, like in the DMs. And I'm like, what is this? Like, his DMs are like a Gatling gun of sperm. What is happening? And she's like, I don't know what to do because I love my boyfriend so much, but like, you know, I want to have kids. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So then the next time I see Elon in Texas, I bring this up to him and I was like, and we had a mutual friend. So Joe Gebbia's wife, Isabel, that I had met in St. Bart's, like, she was one of the only people who understood Elon that I felt like I could talk to and like confide in about certain things. So I talked to her about this Tiffany Fong situation, and she's like, you know, you should just talk to him, because I wasn't sure if I even wanted to bring it up. So the next time I see him, I do, and I'm like, hey, you know, I didn't really want to bring this up, but, you know, I spoke to Isabel, and she said I should just talk to you about it. And I tell him, like, Tiffany called me, this and that. He starts freaking out. He gets so angry at me, and he's like, why would you tell Isabel? Like, if she knows, then everybody's gonna know. Like, he's getting, like, red in the face, embarrassed. And then he's like, mind you, like, actually, I don't know if I can say that, but he starts furiously messaging Tiffany Fong. I, like, think he blocks her, unfollows her, and is like, don't ever, like, share our messages, like, freaking out. And then he, like, goes in his room, he, like, slams the door. He's like, if you need to talk to anybody, talk to your mother. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? And I'm not the one. Okay, so I straight up tell him, I was like, I do not like the way you're speaking to me. Like, this is, like, right after Thanksgiving, okay? I'm like, no, like, we're not gonna do that. And so I left. I was like, no. Find another bitch to speak to that way, because it's not gonna be me. I'm in this weird situation where you fucking weirdos have told me nothing. Like, there's no, like, this is weird. And so then he texts me a little while later, and he's like, I'm sorry, like, for being short with you. I want you to come meet my older sons, but, you know, I have to go to Mar-a-Lago to interview NASA administrators. This is what he says to me, okay? And I'm like, well, too bad, so sad. I'm already gone. Simultaneously, I'm just seeing how willing he is to lie publicly and privately, but, like, about stupid shit. Like, for example, when, you know, Butler happened, the assassination of Trump, attempt on Trump, Elon comes out and he's like, it's this moment, I have no choice but to support Donald Trump. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? You've already been working on a PAC for him. Like, you were already supporting him. Like, why are you lying about, like, this being the catalyst for supporting Trump? Like, this is just, I don't know, it just, like, made me uncomfortable, especially, like, seeing how boldly and publicly he was just misrepresenting things. And to me, this was kind of, like, shattering, because I idolized him in many ways. Like, I looked up to him, I guess you could say. And it's, like, one of those, like, don't meet your heroes moments, because I'm like, in my head, when I first get involved in this, he's like, you know, this free speech warrior who's speaking truth to power. And, like, meanwhile, like, there's just all of this secrecy and these lies and these misrepresentations and this dysfunction. And, like, it's just dawning on me, like, what I got involved in. And while my views now have changed on immigration, on, you know, ICE enforcement, at this time when I am, like, going hardcore on immigration, I'm coming from, like, a national security standpoint, from, like, you know, we want to maintain a safe country and there should be some sort of assimilation. Okay, again, my views have shifted, but this was my point of view. It wasn't coming, I didn't think it was coming from a place of racism. What it promoted, and my rhetoric helped promote people who were operating from racist standpoints. But then, like, when I would talk to him, it was becoming more clear to me that he was coming more from, like, a eugenic standpoint. Also, while I'm pregnant, he's, like, telling me that we need to use surrogates if we want to have, like, a legion of children before the apocalypse or before the Civil War in America. And I'm just not comfortable with surrogacy unless it's necessary for medical purposes. And, like, I just don't want to play rent-a-womb so that we can increase our output of babies here. Like, it was just
weird to me. He also told me that I should get a C-section. Like, what? Because it's better for the head and the brain size? What are you? No, I'm not signing myself up for a C-section. What? No, thank you. My portal works fine. Like, everything just got really weird really, really fast. And like, I swear nobody's gonna believe me, but he was so much more normal before I was pregnant. Like, he was, it was like very normal conversation. Like, his demeanor was normal, and I know I'm gonna get roasted for this, but in private, like, he was funny. But then like, it just got so fucking weird, man. And I genuinely, because this has been so consuming on my life, like, I don't want to just talk about this forever. Like, I just want to get everything out there and then never talk about it again unless it's necessary. But also, you know, people are like, oh, well, like, why do you talk about it so much? Because I was 25. I'm 27 now. Like, this, to me, this happens before I have like an established career, an established life. Like, this is the biggest thing that happens to me. Like, I am a young girl who's like now thrown into this thing. Everything anyone knows about me is now like Elon Musk baby mama. So yeah, like, I want to address it and move on. The last time I went on CNN, they put mother of Elon Musk's children on my lower third. I've been on TV before I met Elon. That was never my lower third, okay? And so I just want to get this all out there and then have my lower third be my name again. And literally everything I do is like watched by 8 attorneys, 4 different law firms. Like, I'm in 3 different courts. Like, I'm just so sick of this and like being painted as like I'm the one who's like combative and chaotic when I'm in 3 different courts and I have people following me all the time. Like, I just want to get this out there and like be done with it. And yeah, when someone with so much influence and so much power puts out so many lies and smears about you, who you are as a mother, your child, it's gonna take a lot more than one post from me to correct the record. So yeah. Quick little update on the whole being followed thing. So I'm here having a great time dancing in my house with my kids, making them dinner. And then I am notified that there's an Escalade just waiting outside, taking pictures of us. Amazing, incredible. Now, there's very few people I know. Well, there's very few people I know with the resources and the spite to be engaging in this type of harassment. However, it's a waste of money. You're going to be really bored having a PI on me because I don't really do anything. You should have caught me years ago when I would treat myself to some substance abuse at every minor inconvenience. But now I just order 5 guys and schedule a call with my therapist. So good luck.